Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 390 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. Lian Huahuan's pupils contracted. You were by his side all along, why didn't you snatch it back? Yun Chuxiu laughed. How about you help me get it back? When you have my corporeal body, you'll have a handle on me. In that case, we sisters can work together earnestly, and you won't have to doubt me anymore. Lian Huahan was skeptical. Yun Chuxiu rolled her eyes and laughed. Also, it's very hard for me to snatch it back from him. If he tried to summon my soul using my corpse, I would die immediately since my current body doesn't have any consciousness. That's why I'm requesting your help. Is this what you really think? Lian Huahuan's eyes flickered. Your disciples would have come along for this journey. Why not let them handle this? Yun Chuxiu sighed as her tears fell. She said pitifully, you don't know how strong this foe is. My disciples aren't his match. From what I know about him, it's likely that they would be killed, not to mention taking back my corporeal body. Lian Huahan thought of how Qin Mu triggered Celestial Venerable Hua's imprint last night. She couldn't help, but felt her heart palpitate. The two sisters acted quickly, and used their ruins of end divine arts to hide. Otherwise, they would have ended up like Pan Chunjin, Xiao Yufang, and the rest, dead in this city. Celestial Venerable Hua's imprint was terrifying, but thankfully, the divine arts of the ruins of End had other marvels. More importantly, the great Tao of the ruins of End had yet to be broken by anyone. It was because of the special nature of the ruins of End divine arts that they were able to survive last night's catastrophe. Lian Huahan had fought Qin Mu once, and she broke 4 of his arms. She was confident that she could defeat him and snatch back Yuan Mu's corporeal body. However, what made Qin Mu scary wasn't his abilities, it was that he was proficient in using any and every power he could rely on, making them his weapons. An example would be Celestial Venerable Hua's imprint last night. Get ready to retrieve my corporeal body from the ghost ship to exchange for your corporeal body. Lian Huahan swept her sleeves and left. Don't forget one more point. You are the mother of Celestial Venerable Hao. Don't always be so improper, and use the word foe loosely. That reflects badly on your upbringing. Yun Chuxiu was incensed. Suddenly, her rage turned into laughter as she disappeared from the city with a flash. Elder sister, you have a good upbringing. As Empress, the mother of the people, your love and concern covers all. Except that you're a little stupid, hee hee. Once you've gotten back my corporeal body, I'll kill you for it. Just like how the yellow sparrow bides its time to swoop in, waiting for the mantis to catch the cicada. The land of the Great Void was vast and boundless. Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang had been walking for many days, but hadn't found the city. I wonder if that dragon you visualized died from the explosion. Luo Wushuang fell into a daze, as he thought of the dragon that caused them to be discovered by Celestial Empress and her sister. Qin Mu was checking his Dao Tai sack for spirit medicine when he heard Luo Wushuang's words. He shook his head. It was born out of visualization, so it's unable to die in a place like the Great Void. Luo Wushuang was stunned. He asked, you're saying that this dragon you visualized is able to endure and survive Celestial Venerable Hua's divine art? That sounds impossible. You don't have such powerful abilities. Qin Mu took out some spirit medicine seeds and scattered them on the floor. He then performed his spell, causing the seeds to sprout and grow rapidly. Soon, an herb garden was created. It's unable to survive, but it is able to regenerate. He continued to perform his spell as he said, the Great Void is a strange place, and the things created through visualization have a strange property. They are able to regenerate after getting destroyed. It's the same for the monsters of the Great Void. The consciousness that they rely on to regenerate is the consciousness of the entire Great Void. Hence, I deduce that the divine dragon could be reborn through the consciousness of the Great Void after getting killed in the city. Because this world was created through the visualization of the masters of creation, as long as the Great Void is around, these creatures will have an infinite supply of consciousness to be reborn. Of course, once they are out of the Great Void, it's very easy to kill them. Once the herbs matured, he harvested and put them away for future use. Luo Wushuang was watching how he worked, and Qin Mu seemed as skilled as an herb farmer. When he was brewing and refining the herbs, he was as skilled as an apothecary. He thought to himself, Overlord Body Qin has knowledge of so many things. Over the last few days, Qin Mu had been hurt several times, so the herbs were being used up quickly. Luo Wushuang would also be a big user of these herbs, as he would need them to recover his damaged celestial palace. The divine dragon is a creature created from my visualization, so it's as though I gave a portion of my consciousness to the Great Void. Due to that, the Great Void now has additional consciousness energy that makes up my divine dragon. Also, there should be a consciousness conservation mechanism in this world, which is why, if the divine dragon is killed, it will be regenerated by the Great Void. Qin Mu stored the herbs and continued his journey. He was full of confidence when he said, after it's regenerated, it could come chasing after us again, following our scent. My deduction has been tested repeatedly by all the things that happened here after we arrived in this place. My deduction has always been very accurate. The corners of his eyes twitched, and his confidence fell as he thought of Yun Chuxiu and Lian Huahan. He had been wrong about the identities of these two ladies. Luo Wushuang asked, "You are also proficient in visualization. Why not create spirit pills through visualization, instead of planting herbs through the art of creation?" The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched again, and he looked a little dejected. There was also a bit of bitterness in his heart. He lowered his voice and said, "My consciousness isn't strong enough. My standard is like a newborn master of creation. I have failed to live up to the name of Overlord Body." Luo Wushuang was puzzled. This fellow Qin Mu had given him and the rest the impression that his confidence was as voluminous as a heavy downpour, or as torrential as a great flood. Why did he suddenly become so modest? And he seemed unable to recover from this setback. However, he didn't know that there was a master of creation living in Qin Mu's third eye at the heart of his brows. That master of creation belittled Qin Mu every day, telling him how weak his consciousness was. Over time, Qin Mu began to believe that his consciousness was weak. Therefore, he developed some sense of inferiority. However, Qin Mu returned to his confident self within the blink of an eye. He laughed and said, "Luckily, I'm the Overlord Body. As long as I work hard, my consciousness can quickly reach the level of an adult master of creation, possibly even stronger. I will become another Grand Emperor." Luo Wushuang hadn't had much interaction with him, so this was the first time he saw him having blind faith in the Overlord Body. He couldn't help but shake his head as he thought to himself, "What Overlord Body? Don't you know that the celestial heavens treat the Overlord Body as a joke?" Regarding the rumor of the Overlord Body, there was news from the celestial heavens that the celestial venerables were long aware that the Overlord Body through history was the same person, Qin Mu. He was the Dragon Han Overlord Body. He was also the High Emperor Overlord Body. Even now, the Overlord Body of eternal peace was him. In fact, throughout the long river of time, there was no Overlord Body performing earth-shattering deeds. All of the rumors of an Overlord Body were left behind by Qin Mu when he was traversing through the past. The so-called Overlord Body was, in fact, a one-man show put on by Qin Mu. There were many in the celestial heavens that knew the truth. Only Qin Mu was unaware. He still believed that he, as the Overlord Body, could do anything. Anything he was unable to do was because he didn't work hard enough. They saw another city created by the masters of creation. However, they were puzzled because they hadn't seen a single master of creation on their way here. Luo Wushuang's injuries had gotten better through Qin Mu's treatment, and he was able to use the cultivation and magic power of the honored God realm and true God realm. Qin Mu enthusiastically imparted the reform of eternal peace and the celestial river divine treasure, influencing him to destroy his divine bridge and switch to the celestial river divine treasure. Luo Wushuang knew the pros and cons of this and paid no attention to his words. Although he was tempted by the celestial river divine treasure, he knew that if he switched to cultivating that, he would be branded as one of the reformers, putting his life in danger. After all, he was a man with no background. Also, he was familiar with Qin Mu's actions. His favorite disciple, Zhehuali, was influenced by this little fellow through means unknown to him. Zhehuali cut ties with him and went to Eternal Peace to join the reform. If I continue to stay with him, I worry that one day I'll be bewitched into following his reform. He was secretly anxious. Qin Mu had a special type of charm and influence, and the more he interacted with him, the harder it would be to treat him as an enemy. After my injuries are healed, I will challenge him to a fight. No matter the result, I will run away after that. This way, I won't be bewitched by him. Qin Mu flew up into the sky and unfurled a geographical map. He compared it with the surrounding scenery, revealing a disappointed expression before descending. The geographical map left behind by Wei Suifeng didn't match the surroundings. In the Great Void, where a consciousness conservation mechanism existed, the surrounding geography wouldn't change over time. If Wei Suifeng was here and left him a map, he should be able to find the place. They walked into this city of the Masters of Creation, which looked to be another abandoned city. As they entered the house of a Master of Creation, they saw that the stove was still lit, and there was a teapot on top. The water in the teapot was boiling. There was a bed and its bedding, as well as money and treasure. They weren't taken away. It looked as though a moment ago, the Masters of Creation were still bustling in the city. Some were making tea, some were going to bed, while some were visualizing money and treasure. Then, suddenly, a major incident happened. They had no time to pack their things, leaving hastily and forsaking this land. It seems that the Masters of Creation have abandoned this world. Luo Wushuang inspected his surroundings. Did the monsters of the Great Void force them to leave? The monsters of the Great Void could regenerate after being killed, and they could do so over and over again. This had indeed given these Masters of Creation plenty of trouble. It was possible that it was too much for them to bear, leading to them leaving this place. They came to a plaza and saw a gigantic bonfire, and on top of it, the leg of an unknown beast, which was about 100 feet long, was being roasted. Beside the bonfire, there were wine cups that were twice as tall as a person, giving off a nice fragrance. As the fragrance of the wine entwined with the aroma of the meat, one was tempted to have a meal. Qin Mu walked over and sliced off a piece of meat. He praised, "Good." He sliced off another piece and gave it to Luo Wushuang. Luo Wushuang hesitated, and Qin Mu laughed and said, "This is meat created by the Masters of Creation. It's fine to eat this. At most, it'll be transformed into consciousness." Luo Wushuang tasted it. It was unusually delicious. Qin Mu sat down, eating the roasted meat, while helping himself to a cup of fragrant wine. This wine had a wonderful, indescribable taste. They cheered as they enjoyed themselves tremendously. It's not bad being a Master of Creation. Qin Mu couldn't help but laugh. It smells so good. Suddenly, they heard a noise and got a fright. Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang looked in the direction of the sound. They saw a ferocious-looking Daoist in black robes with large sleeves who was sporting a high hair bun. It seemed like he came out of nowhere. He sat down beside them, taking big gulps as he shouted, "This is indeed fragrant." Luo Wushuang was about to ask this Daoist where he was from when he suddenly opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of water on that stick of beast leg. He laughed. "This has my saliva on it, do you dare to eat it? If not, this beast leg belongs to me now." Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang looked at each other, speechless. That Daoist removed the beast leg, chowing down on it heartily. Suddenly, he spat into every wine cup and laughed. "I suppose you won't be drinking the wine either." Qin Mu frowned. Then, suddenly, he laughed. "Divine Knife Luo, let's do a magic performance together." He opened the eye at the heart of his brows and mobilized his 3 enclosures higher knowledge. After visualizing for some time, all sorts of delicacies materialized out of thin air, together with an unknown quantity of wines, making it seem like a grand banquet. After some time, many pretty ladies walked out of thin air, singing and dancing. They surrounded the two, laughing and acting playfully as they served them their food. "Divine Knife Luo, what do you think?" Qin Mu asked laughingly. Luo Wushuang was dumbstruck. He managed to recover his senses after some time. Overlord Body Qin really knows how to have fun. Qin Mu laughed heartily as he hugged the women on both sides. The Daoist in the black robes looked at the two with envy as he came up to them. "Pooh!" Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang quickly spat on all of their delicacies. Luo Wushuang even wanted to spit on those pretty ladies, just in case they were taken away by the Daoist. However, Qin Mu stopped him. Upon seeing this, the Daoist in the black robes laughed coldly. "You're from the celestial heavens, so do you know who I am? How dare you show me such disrespect?" Qin Mu smiled faintly as he tilted his head and said to Luo Wushuang, "Divine Knife Luo, tell him who I am." Luo Wushuang coughed and said, "This is the Dragon Han Overlord Body, a celestial venerable appointed by Celestial Emperor, one of the original 5 elders who founded the Heaven Alliance, Celestial Venerable Mu." The Daoist in the black robe's expression changed drastically. Qin Mu smiled faintly and said, "In that case, who are you? Why are you here?" Yu Tinga from the Celestial Heavens Dao sect hereby pays his respects to Celestial Venerable Mu. That Daoist in the black robes had a bad temper. He knelt down and kowtowed several times before turning around angrily and returning to the bonfire. He remarked, "You're but a small divine arts practitioner who has the title of Celestial Venerable. I pay my respects to that title, not you." Qin Mu didn't take much offense as he said, "This Daoist's temper really is bad." Luo Wushuang frowned slightly as he thought, Yu Tinga, I seem to have heard that name somewhere before." That Daoist Yu Tinga only cared about indulging himself in food and drink without his previous wantonness. He cared little for Qin Mu, only glancing at him a couple of times. Qin Mu waved his hands, and the banquet was dispersed. The delicacies, beautiful ladies, and fine wine were all dispersed after morphing into consciousness. He clapped his hands again, and many beautiful ladies walked out of thin air. They looked like a long dragon when they set up the running banquet. Maha! Suddenly, a giant head stretched over. It was the divine dragon that Qin Mu had visualized, and it stared at the banquet excitedly, drooling. It swept its tail around and filled the air with smoke. Expectedly, this divine dragon survived the explosion caused by Celestial Venerable Hua's imprint. It even followed their tracks to this place. Was I subconsciously thinking about Fatty Dragon when I visualized the divine dragon? Is that why the divine dragon I visualized acts like this? Qin Mu's spirits were ruined by the dragon, and he put down his chopsticks and waved his hand. The divine dragon was happy, and it immediately jumped on the banquet to eat and drink to its heart's delight. Luo Wushuang looked at that Daoist and whispered, Yutinga, Celestial Heavens Daoist. Who exactly is he? He thought about the name for a long time, as that name gave him a familiar feeling, but he couldn't remember anything about it. This Daoist had a mysterious origin. It was obvious that the celestial heavens had only sent them into the great void. Besides them, there were only Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Shu. So where did this Daoist come from then? If it was a person sent by the celestial heavens in the past, then how did he survive in this treacherous place? Suddenly, a voice sounded out. As expected of Celestial Venerable Mu, being so unrestrained and merry. No matter where he goes, he's surrounded by beautiful ladies that make people envious. Qin Mu looked in the direction of the voice and saw several gods that had been on the boat with him. During the boat's trip into the Great Void, over half of the people on it became casualties. Around 110 people fell out at various places in the Great Void. In the last city, dozens more died, including Celestial Venerable Hao's disciples Xiu Yufang and Pan Chunjing. Now, Qin Mu didn't know exactly how many people were left in the Great Void. The appearance of the Great Void's monsters wasn't unique to that city. Other places experienced the same thing, and in those places, few people survived. Luo Wushuang rose, looked at them, and solemnly said, "Everyone, Celestial Venerable Mu's merit is unrivaled. He imparted the way to become a god to the masses. Now that we are in the same bad situation where our survival is uncertain, we need to stay united and work together to deal with the peculiarities of the Great Void. It's only then that we can hope to find Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Shu. What do you all think?" One of them glanced at him and laughed coldly. "Divine Knife Luo, are you cozying up to Celestial Venerable Mu?" The knife lights in Luo Wushuang's eyes jumped, and he gave a cold humph. "My name is famous throughout the celestial heavens, and I was given the title of the number 1 divine knife. When have I ever cozied up to someone powerful?" Another young man laughed. "Divine Knife Luo, Celestial Venerable Mu isn't powerful. Be careful not to cozy up to the wrong person. Our journey here, in name, is to receive Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Shu, but in practice, this journey's aim is to remove Celestial Venerable Mu. Divine Knife Luo, you're a smart person, you should have figured that out by now." A lady said coldly, "The various Celestial Venerables ordered you here to help us remove Celestial Venerable Mu. Are you going to bite the hand that feeds you?" Luo Wushuang was in a dilemma, and he looked at Qin Mu. Qin Mu was surrounded by beautiful ladies, with one of them in his embrace. He told Luo Wushuang, "Relax, Divine Knife Luo, I knew about the purpose of this journey. I also know that you don't intend to truly kill me, for you only wanted to challenge my sword skills with your knife skills. I understand your situation, you have to remove the devil in your heart at all cost." Luo Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief, as he solemnly said to the other 3 people, "I saved you. Without me, you lot would have died on the boat. In exchange, I order you to eradicate your dislike, hostility, and antipathy towards Celestial Venerable Mu." All right. That woman was impatient, and she said, "Divine Knife Luo, if we give you face, we can't go back to the celestial heavens. Remember, your duty is to protect us, and that includes saving us. You failed at protecting us to the point where we were left with only 100 people from the original 300. That's already a great sin. Divine Knife Luo, it's the celestial heavens who gave you a way out." That young man continued, "Think carefully. If you help us take down Celestial Venerable Mu, you'll be able to achieve meteoric success after you return. Considering your current cultivation and strength, you shouldn't remain as a mere teacher in the Spirit Elite Guards. You can go out there and become a border commander with ease. Have you never thought about the reason you haven't been promoted?" Another person laughed. "It's because you never cozied up to someone powerful before." This is a great opportunity. Don't cozy up to the wrong person. Luo Wushuang looked as calm as still water. Qin Mu rose and waved off the beauties beside him. He touched the divine dragon, whose tummy had become large and round from his feasting, before suddenly saying, "Divine knife Luo, in my opinion, we shouldn't test our blades anymore, there's no need for it." Luo Wushuang looked downwards and asked as if he was an old monk, "Why do you say that, Overlord Body Qin? I would rather break than bend." Qin Mu waved his hand, and the banquet and beauties disappeared. They dispersed after becoming consciousness as he leisurely said, "I respect you, your extraordinary dignity, and your ability to separate friend from foe. I was impressed by your resilience and perseverance when I saw that you waited for 40,000 years to face off against me again. Yet, seeing you so cautious and scared of consequences, I can't help but feel disappointed." Luo Wushuang's eyes expanded slightly as he plainly said, "I'm overly cautious and scared of consequences. I'm a celestial venerable, and you dare to challenge me, although it's merely the exploitation of my weakness and youthful nature." Qin Mu continued, "Yet when facing these disciples of celestial venerables, you bow down to them and listen to whatever they say. When you were insulted, you didn't dare to fight back. A person who bullies the weak and fears the strong like you do isn't fitting to be my sword, let alone a divine knife." Luo Wushuang's eyes opened widely as the knife lights within them flashed and were almost unleashed. Qin Mu continued, "The knife god I saw was a wild, daring, and fearless person who dared to go against the heavens and the authorities. He wouldn't back off, because the opponent was too strong, nor would he bully the weak with his strength. He would dance with the knife and drink the blood of tyrants after taking monarchs' heads. When facing the weak, he would lie low and hide, choosing to become a butcher of pigs instead. This is what it means to be a knife god. Yet you." He burst into laughter and said, "You are but a mere swordsmith who trained your knife skills well. You're worse than Zhehuali. You said that you defeated the devil in your heart, but I see that you still have many devils suppressed in your heart." Luo Wushuang was furious, and his aura suddenly exploded, cutting the sky into two, as if it was a divine knife. "High Emperor Overlord Body, how dare you look down on me?" Luo Wushuang was extremely furious, and his vital qi, mixed with his blood and essence, beamed into the sky, forming a bloody knife light. The knife grew at least 10,000 yards long, before it became shorter following the coalescing of his essence and blood. As it became shorter, the knife grew stronger. "Overlord Body Qin, the knife skill you saw in the past was the one I had after I became a god. The one you saw on the boat was the one I comprehended after all these years." Luo Wushuang's gaze was cold as his essence and blood coalesced to form a long knife that he wielded with his only arm. His murderous aura was boundless as he said, "The me on the boat is different from the me now. The knife skill I had on the boat and the knife skill I have now are also different. I want you to see my knife skill now." Those three celestial venerable disciples looked at each other and smiled. That lady said, "If we have divine knife Luo to do the job for us, we can slack off. Besides, this celestial venerable Mu isn't that weak, and the charge for killing him is also a heavy one." That young man saw a ferocious-looking Daoist not far away, and he frowned and whispered, "Who's this Daoist? Why is he here?" The three of them sized up this ferocious Daoist's face and felt that they had met before, but they couldn't recall the details. Luo Wushuang's aura was fully unleashed, and so was the power of the divine knife as he said, "Please teach me." The knife light rose as the color of blood covered the skies. Before one of the three celestial venerable disciples could react, Luo Wushuang's divine knife had already cleaved him in two. The other two were surprised and furious. They hollered in unison, charging towards him and asking, "Are you rebelling, Luo Wushuang?" Luo Wushuang pretended to have heard nothing as he showed off his own knife skill and knife path. His knife skill was proper and regular. Each knife attack of his solicited precision, each one of them containing a special force. It was as if every attack and move of his was carefully measured by the best craftsman. Yet, at this moment, his knife skill contained unrestrained heroism, as it had a rebellious aura. If the sword was a gentleman, then his knife was a king. He leaped out of the shackles of his past knife skills, annihilated the devil in his heart, trampled every fear of his, and left behind only a pure Tao. His knife rose, and its light formed heavens. Some had shining stars, while some had blue skies and white clouds. Some had pouring rain, while some had pleasant and sunny weather. Some had monstrous winds, while some had thunder and lightning. It was extremely powerful. One heaven after another. He was the knife god of the celestial heavens, the number one divine knife of it. The rise of his knife resembled a boundless sky, while the fall of it resembled an awe-inspiring wall. It perfectly fused intricacy with magnificence. In the past, he studied the underlying principle of the knife path to acquire its ultimate wonders. Although it was powerful, it wasn't scary. Today, he merged what he knew and blended it to his frame of mind, fusing them into his body's essence, blood, and spirit. This Luo Wushuang, although one-armed, was the scariest. The two celestial venerable disciples tried their best to defend against his knife, and behind them floated 3 celestial palaces, the small celestial heavens techniques that they had cultivated. As for Luo Wushuang, he could only use his cultivation to the point of a true god, for his injuries hadn't fully healed. To the celestial venerable disciples, Luo Wushuang was an unorthodox person, for the techniques and divine arts he cultivated were unorthodox. The knife path was a post-celestial Tao, while what they cultivated were pre-celestial Taos that came from the ancient gods. The difference between them was like mud and clouds. They cultivated the Emperor's throne techniques that their celestial venerables imparted to them, at most 3 of them, in order to enter the path and comprehend the best divine arts. They were supposed to supersede unorthodox people, who didn't enter the path like Luo Wushuang. Yet, they were struggling despite outnumbering him 2 to 1. The battle started fast and ended fast. From the knife light, blood light appeared. Luo Wushuang pushed the knife in and killed that young god. The lady was shocked, and she leaped into the air to flee. Luo Wushuang shouted and cleaved towards her. While her head fell to the ground, her corporeal body shot forward frantically and flew out of the city. It was only then that it fell. Luo Wushuang sheathed his knife, and the long knife that his essence and blood created went into his body. He then turned around to look at Qin Mu, and the light of his eyes was like knife light, and it went straight into Qin Mu. How's my knife skill, Overlord Body Qin? Am I qualified enough to challenge you? Seeing how his aura and knife skill had changed, Qin Mu couldn't help but reveal a grateful smile as he said, "Sure. Please sit, Divine Knife Luo." Luo Wushuang strode forward, his clothes fluttering in the air. Beneath the fluttering, the air was stimulated by his aura as thousands of knife energies were colliding into one another. His aura had recovered when he sat down in front of Qin Mu. Not far away, that ferocious-looking Daoist turned around and praised, "One-armed one, your knife skill isn't bad." Luo Wushuang's gaze went towards him. Suddenly, his brain clicked, and he realized where he saw him before. His body shuddered, and he couldn't help but exclaim, "You are Heavenly Master Yu." Qin Mu was stunned as he asked, "Heavenly Master Yu? Which Heavenly Master Yu?" Suddenly, he too had a eureka moment when he thought about what Unsheathed said on the boat. Part 390 end here. Thank you for watching.